hosts, Optic Gaming, up against the hometown rivals in complexity. And this one's the Battle of Texas. Dan, this one promises to be a tasty one.
Yeah, we think this one could go all the way based off what we've seen so far in the qualifiers. We've seen 3-2s, we've seen a few 3-1s here or there. Complexity matching up really well against Optic Gaming. And when I look at this series layout, yes, it does teeter towards Optic, mainly because of their efficiency during Slayers. They've dominated Complexity when they have gone up against them. I really think the defining moment is going to be that Game 3, Stronghold's live fire, because it's one of Complexity's better game types. But we start things off, as we have done a couple of times today, with CTF Empyrean, and we didn't see much of it during the qualifiers. In fact, Complexity didn't play it once during the entire qualification process. We did see more of Optic, though, and Optic, we know how good they are at this map, because it means Formal gets a sniper rifle.
And last season, this was one of Optic Gaming's best, and it looks as though Penguin is fitting into that APG role pretty nicely. We can expect their playstyle to be pretty similar here.
Definitely, you've got to play around the sniper, allow Formal to get in control, and then when he does that damage, bounce off that damage, and make sure you're getting aggressive at the right time.
The green wall, up against Complexity, who are here to spoil the party. Optic Gaming have already began their title challenge. Shields up, weapons hot, we're underway.
Formal prioritizing the rockets here and will have assistance, and it's a very easy grab, so it's going to be Complexity leaning towards the overshield, and they are going to be able to grab it. I think Descendant going to be pushing with that overshield now alongside teammates, but Formal just waiting to do the damage and will catch out RyaNoob. Got to keep an eye on RyaNoob throughout this game as well. He's very sneaky, will try and go for that sword play, try and get behind enemy lines.
Formal, still one rocket to play with. Precision, not living up to his namesake with that first shot. It was a swing and a miss. Does connect to the second player, Deadzone, instead though, and Precision looking to get the challenge going, but fortunately for him, he's challenging one of the best in Formal. Sniper rifle to play with, body shot will connect, no more shields for RyaNoob. You spoke about keeping an eye on him, particularly through that sword. That's exactly what we've seen.
Yeah, I think RyaNoob maybe assumed that Formal had gone back up into sword with his first repulse. But now we've got Formal with sniper control in the sword. This is what you don't want to see if you're a Complexity fan, because if he starts popping off, it will allow the rest of the team to push up, gain map control, and start to think about a flag pull.
Formal with eyes top tower for a second.
Here we go.
Being pushed by two members here. Precision down to no shields. Huss now has the Bulldog to play with, and it's going to be a one-for-one trade for Formal as Huss continues to hold forward, but now forced backwards. Pops the shields of two players, but not good enough to connect and get the kill. So at the moment, both teams with no real advantages to talk about, and the map split pretty even.
TriPPPeY at the moment just kind of listening, probably hearing what his teammates are saying, just so he can try and make his way around the map and finish off a little bit of damage. TriPPPeY is the guy who gets in the base for Optic Gaming as well on this map. He's the one who's been leading in flag pulls, leading in flag captures. Even though Deadzone, we know his objective work is incredible, TriPPPeY is the one who gets in the face of his enemy, so they will often lead from his damage as well.
Oh, RyaNoob letting them know. Nice and early here. That will not do much to upset the Optic Gaming players, but perhaps the fans, they never like to see a little bit of a little bit of baggins a little bit too soon, Dan, it must be said. We'll see how it shakes out from Will Karma come back to bite him. They're starting to descend on the opposing base here, and Formal will win that one. 4 dead for Complexity, and Optic can push out.
Yeah, it was an interesting time to go for an aggressive push like that with rockets and overshield coming up, because it's going to allow both to go into the hands of Optic Gaming now. I think Complexity, they felt like they had the advantage because they had a player down, but maybe could have just stood back a little bit. And now it's going to allow Optic to really get aggressive with this push. Deadzone with the overshield, has to lead the charge, needs support though, because you can get the initial damage, but you are going to be the focus point.
Descendant taking down the no shields did quite a bit of damage to the overshield player though, and Deadzone realizing that he's down in shots, faced with two members of Complexity, but enough damage has been done elsewhere. Huss will continue to jiggle peek. Beautiful nade will back up Deadzone for a moment. Look at this, Lucid's got flag on the move and over towards sword.
It's not a traditional route. It can certainly work out well if you can control those spawns, and he has a sniper to work with as well, and does get a shot onto Descendant. And now they can keep on moving because 3 are dead for Complexity, and this should be a comfortable cap to get Optic Gaming 1-0 up here, and they take the lead. And remember, Optic coming into this one as the lower seed, Complexity coming in as the higher seed because of their placement in the latest NA qualifier. It's not often we see Optic coming in as a lower seed, and they'll want to prove that wrong. They want to regain that seed off of Complexity.
Optic, a little wobble in the qualifier, and like you say, looking to right that wrong here. If they top the pool, of course it's important to remember both these teams unbeaten in the pool, and this one could decide who finishes top, barring an open team coming in to disrupt things. TriPPPeY rips the face off of Huff's shoulders, and Lucid also gets another one onto RyaNoob, so map control is there and an option here for Optic Gaming. And TriPPPeY locks in yet another kill. Instead, RyaNoob has made that flank once more. He's going to constantly be a thorn in their side.
Yeah, but TriPPPeY spotted him out, and TriPPPeY's well aware of it, and he will be calling that out. But RyaNoob, he gets some assistance from teammates. But sadly, RyaNoob's life does not live much longer because now Formal has a sniper rifle to play with. I think he's just run out of ammo, but the sniper has made such a difference in the early stages as that nade hits hard, and it's going to allow 2, and it could be 3 here for Formal. Descendant backs off into green, but Formal carries on going, and it's all 4 dead now for Complexity, and Optic can start to think about a second flag run.
Formal just does so much damage. Rocket's about to pop up as well, and that can make this flag run all but locked in now. Lucid's made it all the way down long haul and received no damage. Kills getting picked up around as TriPPPeY and Formal will get a couple on the board. And that means 2-0 now for Optic Gaming. 1 away from winning the game.
It doesn't look like things have changed too much for Optic when we look at BR starts to Bandit starts when it comes to this mapping mode. Controlling it in a very similar way. Even though a lot of it can stem from aggression from a sniper rifle and overshield, they just know how to work together, targeting the same enemy at the same time. Lucid just needs to be careful here. Of course, we know the Bulldog can really make a difference in Sword.
Descendant playing off his heels with the Bulldog. Precision and RyaNoob will get a couple of kills, and that means they can push forward. Descendant sending a few of the frag grenades back from whence they came. Formal, the last man alive for a moment, as he positioned top tower with 2 teammates spawning over towards the flag. TriPPPeY has made it out, but not for long as he's cut down. But Formal will relieve some of the pressure by getting a kill on tower.
The trouble with these constant pushes from Complexity to lower Sword over towards Snipe is when that player gets picked off, it then gives Optic Gaming the extra player on the map, and they're able to then just overpower Complexity and continue to dominate and pressure. So I think Complexity probably have to start looking towards a plan B here, maybe controlling a little bit more of long haul and green if they're going to get any flagballs.
Formal with snipe. Lucid may have remnants of the opponent's snipe as well, as Huss did fall over towards Sword. Lucid's going to take up the position over towards Banana. Looks as though Optic Gaming are pretty happy with what they have in the bag so far, and Lucid does have that snipe, and he's finding them faces. 3 dead, with Descendant last man alive over towards the tower.
Yeah, the kills come through, and it just allows Formal to push up because they know this could be the final flag gap. If Formal gets in the right place at the right time, he could be hitting several heads alongside Lucid here, and this is a massacre, and this is going to be game.
All 4 dead. Huss spawning over towards the Mangler. And Mangler's the name of the game right now. Complexity are in a blender. Desperately trying to get down long haul, but it's all for naught. Optic Gaming take game 1.
So much control towards the end of the game. It was all leading up to it. It was a build-up throughout of Optic slowly but surely just pummeling Complexity into the ground. And even though there was small amounts of fight back throughout, Complexity couldn't wrestle back that control. A couple of attempted little flanks here or there, but Optic were wise to it. They always had eyes on, and that's because they know the kind of players they're going up against. They know what RyaNoob's going to do when he's trying to make that Sword flank. But it really was a perfect setup at the end when they have both sniper rifles in their hands.
Taking a look at the stats, 19, 9, and 10 for Formal, leading the lobby. Stellar job from him, massively impressive. And look at TriPPPeY as well, putting up the stats at Deadzone along with him. But it has to be said, Dan, you spoke about how RyaNoob likes to play the sword side. It looks as though all of Complexity were playing the sword side. I'm not sure they know if a call-out came long haul where that is on the map.
And I think maybe that's just naturally because Optic dominates so much of long haul and green that Complexity were forced to try and go sword. How many times were they caught in that courtyard spawn? And the only way to escape Optic is by going into sword, whether that's going down or whether it's going through it. It's the same old saying, if you can't go under it, you can't go over it, you've got to go through it, but they just couldn't do so because Optic had so much control. A very well-played Empyrean CTF. It's what we would expect from Optic Gaming, and maybe this is kind of teasing us as to what we could see for the rest of this series.
I think what's most impressive, you spoke about how they held the map, but it was the control that they had. Even you see this courtyard spawn, all four exactly where they want them. This was orchestrated perfectly by Optic Gaming on beautiful execution.
I mean, the communication between Formal and Lucid just to watch those certain angles, and this could have gone wrong at the end as well, because notice after they get these kills, there was the spawn over towards the Mangler, and you could kill the flag guy from there and then suddenly stop the flag, but Formal had eyes on, he was ready, he was waiting, he heard that call out, and that shot there guaranteed the flag yet again. And sadly for Complexity, they were in that blender, they were never going to be able to escape, but they just have to start thinking now about map number 2.
Map number 2, Slayer Aquarius. You spoke about how good Optic are in the Slayers. This is not good news for Complexity.
Yeah, 7-2 in the qualifiers in Slayers in general, and they have taken down Complexity twice on Slayer Aquarius. One was closer than the other, 50-47 in the most recent, but they did also 50-36 them during qualifiers as well. So it's something we would expect Optic to be winning, but at the same time, if Complexity can kind of get a little bit of momentum, get the ball rolling, and maybe disrupt Optic's process here, there's still a chance. And, you know, we heard on the desk, they were talking about can Precision kind of step up, can he be that big Slayer? This is the game for you to show what you're made of.
And we spoke about RyaNoob in the past, how he finds himself on these rosters that excel. He manages to build them every single time. Speaking of the man, Pillars of Halo, and that's absolutely fitting for him because he's found himself on this roster with some absolute demons.
And RyaNoob has been trying to build something throughout the entirety of Halo Infinite, it feels. He's been there, he's been there, done that with, it seems like so many different players throughout the community. But there's something about this Complexity roster that I think is just maybe a little bit better than others that he's seen before. And there's that belief that they can go on to cause upsets. And yes, okay, game one really didn't go their way, but it's not one of their better game types. You just have to sometimes accept you're going to have your good, you're going to have your bad. And CTF Empyrean is one of Optic's best. So you move on, you start to think about Aquarius Slayer, you start to think about those starting strategies. It was difficult in the early stages. We saw both teams went for very different objectives on CTF Empyrean. One for Rockets, one for Overshield. There is only one objective here. It is the Overshield now on Slayer Aquarius. You have to get it off the go.
We have seen many different strategies on how to acquire that Overshield right off the rip. Is it a full 4-man push, or do you try and play the baiting game? And more often than not, you need to try and have resources in the right place because you can't seem to pick it up from the P side. You have to almost take alternative angles.
If you can hit the slides right, you can get there very fast and maybe pop it into your chest before you die when you're online. On LAN, you're going to be picked apart from someone who's watching it, so you have to be more precise with how you approach it, and you really need to be controlling the map and thinking about what happens after the Overshield is grabbed as well, because it's not just the Overshield. Of course, there's other things you want to be able to pick up as well, so you just need to make sure you've got that in the back of your mind when it does happen.
We spoke about these players having unbelievable talent on either sides of the roster. Who is it on these teams that you think will be the difference maker in this Slayer?
I think that you have to look at Formal, the damage output that Formal has been doing throughout not just qualifiers, but at previous events as well. I feel like he's really in his element with the latest meta changes, with the Bandit now coming into the equation. Formal just seems to be even better than he was with the battle rifle, which I think is a scary, scary situation for those that are going up against him. On the flip side, I mean, I want to see something from Precision or maybe Descendant as well. The new name change that they were talking about, does it kind of affect your play style here or there? No, of course it's not going to. But we know what these players can do when they get into individual gunfights, and I'd expect both of them to be playing pretty hot here.
You speak about Formal, rightfully so. You watch his streams, you watch his POV, and he has one of the steadiest shots in the game, Dan. Doesn't matter if it's a Bandit, if it's a sniper rifle, a shock rifle, his shot, his pre-aiming, it's always on point.
Yeah, I think that Formal is a player that a lot of people can learn from. I mean, when we come into an Optic major, there's always going to be that extra expectation, that extra pressure on your shoulder as well, but we know that Formal is not really a player who is affected by said pressure. But It was here at this major last year when we saw Optic had one of their worst placements, right? So we need to see now a bounce back from Optic for the fans, or that's what they're going to feel like as players, that they almost owe the fans that. So I think we're going to see a different look Optic at this tournament, especially after the most recent qualifier being, again, a bit of a dud for them. Top 6, not used to what we're seeing for Optic Gaming. So I'm expecting them to try and prove a point here.
We spoke to members of the Complexity team. They spoke about how the top 4 is a dream, top 6 is an expectancy, and anything below that, you're starting to be disappointed. And when you think about this team, what they've been through, you think about, okay, we're going to build this squad. What is it we're trying to achieve? It's to beat the likes of Optic Gaming and to do it in their own backyard. What a story that would be.
Yeah, no one wants to just be a top 8 team, right, or a top 6 team. You want to win the whole thing. And you were talking about Slayers. You asked me who I thought might be big Slayers. We didn't mention Lucid. A lot of talk about Formal, but Lucid was an MVP for a reason, right? Unbelievably talented at this video game. And yes, there's been meta shifts that have kind of nerfed him a little bit here or there, but he constantly works his way back up to be at the top of his game. Also wearing the same glasses as Blaze, which I think is very interesting, but an amazing player. And if he is firing on all cylinders, then again, Optic Gaming, they're gonna be in the driving seat. And you mentioned Complexity, they've been boot camping for about a week, so it's not like they're underprepared coming into this. Yes, they don't have the same history, the same kind of chemistry as Optic Gaming, but they do have the practice. They have the reps under their belt. I just feel like they need one. They need one game here just to say, okay, this series is on, this is doable. If you go 2-0 down, then that's when your heads may start to drop.
It's all about planting the seeds of belief. Game 2 underway. Thanks for sticking with us, folks, as we dealt with some technical issues, but we're rocking and rolling now. And 2 members of Optic Gaming have immediately gone towards the overshield as Lucid tried to hold the lines. He's rewarded with 2 kills and a fresh 5 shots. Triple kill for Lucid and a heat wave to play with.
You could almost see it in his gameplay. He was kind of searching. He was saying, is there more? But it's 4-2 in the early stages. And Optic Gaming, they were rewarded with that overshield. Formal missed us a couple of shots, but of course can just lunge in and ensure he finishes off the kill. But it was an interesting starting strategy from Optic. They knew how they wanted to get the overshield, and it was almost as expected. As long as you've got one player to watch that cross, you can do so much damage to those players who are just kind of deer in headlights trying to get towards that overshield.
RyaNoob tries to slip away up the shroom stairs. That will not be an eventuality for him as he's sent to the respawn screen and rejoins us now. Descendant over towards card 3 will drop down and settles for a trade. There's 2 members of Complexity now, making 3 in blue. Deadzone's gonna be the first point of contact, and he's good for 1, but that's all. Score currently sitting at 12-9. The early innings favoring Optic Gaming.
And you need to have Complexity stay competitive in this game. They have to get to the latter stages and still be within 5 for me. And if it does get to the later stages and we start to look at like a 48-48, for example, I always back RyaNoob's side. RyaNoob always seems to have a great game plan when it comes to those scenarios, but you've got to get there first. And if Optic can just contain them, if they can keep this kind of pressure going, if they can keep these spawn traps going where they pressure them at each base, it's going to be difficult for Complexity to stay within 5.
Precision now. Stands up 2. Kills going in their favor. Overshield's going to be popped into the chest as well. Now Complexity can push forward. Descendants looking for those fresh spawners who are going to be over towards the closet area. Almost stand still, baiting in the overshield player. He's gone straight into a brawl.
Good double.
He's good for 2 though. 3 go down. Lucid, last man standing.
And you saw that was a kind of ambush attempt from Optic, but Descendant was able to get in from an angle where they weren't really expecting it. If you can go 2 for 1 with an overshield, you're pretty happy about that. As now at the moment, it's Optic who are kind of forced back into a base, but a great defensive hold. If you can get one player to kind of sit back pillar, you can do so much damage to those players that are trying to chase the no shield. So good awareness there from Optic Gaming.
Bodies continue to hit the floor. RyaNoob down to no shields. Ultimately hits the ground at the hands and the trigger of Deadzone. Be interesting to see how they're going to navigate these next few passages of play. Let's go to an Optic Gaming listen-in.
Watch out, car jump to car 1. Car jump on a car. It's with dead.
Nice.
And behind me. Fighting hard bar. 1 P jump on us. Car 2, 2 of them. Watch out, P1. 2 car 2. 2, car 1 now. Look car 1.
Enemy have
Push together. Car 1 right now. Go for 1, trying to go. Car 2, watch out, guys. Car 2, watch out. In Yellow gen. Watch out, yellow troops. You fire. Car 1 as well. Go top car 1 now. Two car 1 will do 2 shots. Got him. Push blue here.
Bridge one.
Yeah,
This week.
Blue fire and blue fridge. They're both one shot. Fire one shot.
Car 3 jumped up just now.
Come back to me.
Keep trading each other out here.
Front yellow.
Go bottom mid.
That's pump blue.
This is up when OS comes.
Okay,
Watching yellow B doors.
blue gen. And P1, Joey. 3 shots. One shot. No,
You guys blue B?
Front blue's in.
Blue B at the end.
Street. One shot here.
Yeah, blue P street.
Last two.
Blue fridge. Drop P1.
Go for joy.
No shot. Nice. Two here. P1. P1 on P.
One shot.
No one blue street.
Jumping up.
Got him.
Nice.
Thrust is up.
Look here, Huss. Huss one. Shit on so hard.
Pushing blue. Pushing blue flag.
Go car here. Yeah, go straight through. It should be blue or yellow gen. Definitely hiding gens.
I'm getting shot in the back.
How do you go fridge? I mean, and P2. One shot to center. Oh my god, a little behind.
Nice, Matt.
Blue fridge.
T2 again.
Fridge Ryan, and then one's P2.
Going yellow gen.
Dying from
Nice.
like.
Blue. P2 still.
Yeah, he's blue wall. Just kill Joey.
Nice zombie. The yellow high hall. He has the cluster. Another one shot. Car 3. Yeah, two there. Car 3. One shot. Another one. Yellow again.
Yeah, yellow's in Descendant. South.
Push this.
Sharing heads in. You want like front yellow?
Yeah, on the shrooms on
I spawned blue gen.
On the vent, weak. Two shot in the vent. RyaNoob. 2 in the vent.
I go.
Two in the vent.
Yellow window. Front yellow. He's going car 3, guys. Car 3.
Honest, Matt.
Car 3 weak Ryan. Ultra weak Ryan. Car 1.
Behind you guys, yellow car. Come here, Joey.
Always a pleasure to be a fly on the green wall. Getting a sneak peek into those comms. They only need 4 more kills down, but this has been textbook.
Yeah, and one of the major takeaways was let's keep trading out these kills. They already had like a 6-kill lead, and it just keeps getting better now. As there's no way back into this for Complexity. It's far too far away at this point. 49 turns to 50 in Optic Gaming. They make it 2-0, and it was in a very commanding fashion. Dominated the overshield, dominated the entire presence of the map. Complexity, they never got a chance to get going.
It was clinical. The green wall doubled their lead. Complexity just didn't look at the races in that game number 2. And you spoke about how games 1 and 2 were going to be a struggle for Complexity, and game 3 was going to be that difference maker.
Yeah, game 3 is their last real lifeline, and we'll get into that a little bit after some highlights. But Complexity, they never were able to break out of a base with any real control. It was usually when it was a kill that was traded out. They never got that player advantage that forced Optic back onto a spawn themselves. And yeah, 50-35, it's not a terrible score. We've seen a lot worse on the main stage, but at the same time, it was never really going to be Complexity's game. You'd have to feel like they had to get that 1 overshield, maybe 2 overshields, just to push them over the edge and stop Optic from the massacre that happened at times. But it was TriPPPeY with 17 kills who led the way for Optic Gaming.
There's a reason why Clutch calls him Big Game Trip. When Optic need him, he shows up, he answers the call. Deadzone as well, registered an impressive tally of 12, 7, and 6. All this talk heading into the tournament, upgrade, side grade, downgrade. He'll not be putting too much weight into anyone's opinion. He's here to play the game.
And then you look at Formal and Lucid, the 2 damage dealers, 11 assists apiece. If you're playing with Formal and Lucid on your team, you are going to have such a fun time on Aquarius. You don't even need to call out. All you need to do is listen to the damage that's being done by those 2 boys, and you will pick up kills. You will have a fun time on Aquarius, and that certainly seemed to be the case for the rest of Optic Gaming. And they find themselves 2-0 up, but they go into Stronghold's live fire, which, as I mentioned earlier, is one of Complexity's better game types. In fact, they did beat Optic Gaming during the qualifiers on this exact map and mode, 250 to 233. Still pretty close, and I still think a 3-0 is somewhat on the horizon here for Optic Gaming, especially with the confidence they seem to be playing with.
And if we could even put ourselves in the headspace of Complexity, they found themselves 2-0 up in the qualifier against Optic, and they got themselves reverse swept. Is there something that one of the guys, can Ashes turn around and say, here, listen lads, we've had it done, there's no reason we can't do it to them?
Exactly, that's what you need to be saying. You need to be saying to each other, it's completely doable. If they've done it, then we can do it too. And it's one of our better maps and modes here that we've beaten them on before. It's the perfect way to start a reverse sweep. We've seen reverse sweeps started on bad maps. It's more likely, though, to happen on one of your better maps. And Optic will have that in mind. Optic will know it's going to be one of Complexity's better maps, but at the same time, Optic would have been able to do the VOD research, right? Optic would have been able to look at why Complexity were winning that. It's not just starting strategy, it would have been control later on in the game as well that maybe they weren't able to wrestle back.
Live fire, once upon a time, it was Optic Gaming's home. That was
it
the
really
one.
was.
I mean, they didn't lose for, it felt like months, maybe years. I don't know. But all I know is they were very, very good at that map. And typically now as time has started to roll on, they've improved in other maps, but maybe you've neglected live fire just a touch.
Well, they almost pioneered the way to play live fire back in the day, and it's been an evolution ever since, with meta changes, kind of spawn shifts as well, weapons changing here and there, power-ups changing. Optic started everything. The whole reason why we probably saw changes to said power-ups because Optic were too good at one point in live fire. But now they have just to continue to learn and develop their own meta, and they seem to be doing pretty well. It is maybe one of their weaker game types from what we saw in qualifiers, strongholds on live fire in particular, but live fire as a map, they still know how to play. They are still going to be good at it. I just think if we're going to see any game go in favor of Complexity, it would be this one.
I think we can talk about, obviously, we mentioned briefly Complexity being the 4th seed, Optic being the 5th seed, and what a statement it would be from the Green Wall. If they win this 3-0 convincingly, that they're here to play and they're here to threaten the big two.
I think in Optic's minds, they probably still feel like they're a top 4 seed. You know, it was difficult for them because when we look at the qualifiers and how they worked, the top 4 teams from the latest qualifier became the top 4 seeds. But if you look at the accumulative points of Optic Gaming from all of those qualifiers, they still would be ahead of Complexity. So I'm sure in their head, that's how they feel, and they just need to kind of reassert their dominance here in this series.
Well, you spoke about right and the wrong. If they top this pool, they managed to steal the 4th seed anyway, so that qualifier is irrelevant at that point. So they'll be looking at this as we get a 3-0 here, we end the day, play the open team tomorrow, and then we can really go on a run.
Very interested to see what happens on the start of this one as well. Optic tend to lean very heavily towards the green side. They usually send 2 players to pillar, 1 up on nest, and then 1 will go tower. And they want to get that sniper rifle in Formor's hands. That is their first task, to ensure that they get the sniper to him. And Formor on this map gets sniper and usually plays for the camouflage as well. You give him both of those 2 things, he is going to be a Terminator, right? He is going to be someone walking around that map destroying everything. So Complexity, they need to shut that down.
Optic Gaming 1 game away from taking out the sweeping brush and clearing Complexity to one side and getting on with their tournament.
Here we go.
It's going to be Formal the player to sit top tower, play for Formal, play for the sniper rifle, and good things usually happen. Descendant pops up the challenge, gets the trade.
Well, that's the way they've tried to counter it. They've just tried to send someone up through bottom middle so that it's not going to be an easy grab for Formal, but unfortunately the other players who went green and towards pillars did their job, so Optic still have control and they still have the sniper, and if you can't have it in Formal's hands, you'd like to have it in Lucid's, but good comeback from Complexity to ensure they don't allow him to get going either.
Sniper rifle will be down on sandbags. Be interesting to see if Optic can close in and scoop it up. RyaNoob just delaying this fight. He's gonna have a shield advantage now as well, forcing TriPPPeY all the way back down to bottom middle. Got towards pillars now and touch tight with his teammate Deadzone. Descendant sitting back green, they're trying to capture B, but RyaNoob's there to be a thorn in the side. 3 down momentarily for Optic Gaming.
And this is a similar tale to what we saw at the very start of the day when we were looking at 2 different teams, structure versus a little bit of chaos. Complexity do thrive amongst the chaos, whereas Optic, they like to play a little bit more structured. If we see Optic take control, they can probably dominate this game and really close out this series in a very impressive fashion. But if Complexity can kind of keep this close, keep them bouncing between C and A, make them second guess themselves, they can definitely make it competitive.
Huss done a wonderful job just delaying that fight up against 2 guns, but ultimately he wasn't long for the world. 3 dead once more for Complexity. A and B remain locked in for the green wall. Descendant gets force pushed off the map by Lucid, tapping into his inner Obi-Wan Kenobi. And triple cap unofficially in effect. It's not quite locked in, it is now, and Complexity could be in big trouble.
Yeah, big trouble. You have to win a couple of fights here, which they do. 3 go down for Optic Gaming, so it's not the end of the world here for Complexity, and that's what you need. You need someone to be hitting those shots to give your team the chance.
Descendant wobbles the brain of 1. Precision's good for 2. Deadzone challenges on nest. RyaNoob's grenade will get the job done. Sniper rifle now with 1 bullet to play with for Precision. It's a swing and a miss, but he gets the stick and gets the trade.
Great play for the stick there to ensure you get that trade. Camo's coming up now as well. Have to see if anyone was able to actually get their hands on it. No one yet. It's still going to be up on its platform. So Descendant going to go for a little flank to try and help the rest of the team. But Complexity still in control whilst they play for this camouflage, so it's also timed pretty well as 4 now go down for Optic Gaming. And Complexity, they have a bit of control.
You spoke about how in the qualifier the game finished 250 to 233 in favor of Complexity. You can see why there's very little between them. Descendant's looking to push the envelope here.
Dear.
Formal shuts the camouflage player down and scoops up a repulsor to play with as well.
Very little things like that from Formal, where he's just got a bit of an unsurprising strafe. Sometimes he'll just crouch, stand still. Sometimes he's trying to go for a merry dance. And other times he'll give you the jump. Always keeps you on your toes. A very difficult player to challenge in a PIV. As now A, B, and C get locked in for Optic Gaming, and this could be a chance to get a good position to score quite a lot of points here.
Formal peeks in, doesn't like what he sees. The distraction was enough though, as Lucid picked up 2 and Deadzone another. Sniper rifle still in the hands. Could be another triple cap if they're not too careful. RyaNoob challenges over towards Nest, loses his shields. Precision almost loses his face. Formal is shut down. And Optic Gaming still remain in control and are now just taking the lead.
Formal just trying to hit bodies there. You notice he connected with the first shot. He didn't even think about that player he's just hit. He trusts that teammates might clean it up, or he might be able to get another body shot to help teammates elsewhere. As Lucid gets the trade with RyaNoob. Complexity still in control though, but only by a few as they finally break out of that trip cap. Huss and Descendant work together to shut down the player who's over towards Camo. So now Optic Gaming need to break the setup once more.
Lucid on Nest, jiggle peaks. Hits 5 fresh shots. Teammates were there though, 3 dead for the green wall. Complexity looking to try and put some breathing space between the two. Formal's got a pick though. Precision's on big door, Deadzone. Fights with his back to the wall. Lucid's there, on scoreboard, soars forward, gets 1. Might get RyaNoob as well, he can't do so though. As RyaNoob prevents the cap, the reset comes in. So Optic will score for the moment.
Scoring the moment, but still behind. And I guess one of Optic's biggest criticisms last year was that they played a little slow at times, and it did allow those teams who were quite quick thinking on their feet. They could take them down in games like this. But Optic are doing very well to kind of wrestle back that same speed that Complexity have been throwing at them. Just need to be careful they don't allow Complexity to get too far ahead here, because you don't want to give yourself too much to do in the later stages of the game, but the camouflage has gone in favor of Complexity quite a few times now.
Have to keep an eye on that. See if it starts to pay dividends.
Oh, wow.
An unofficial double kill, like actually an unofficial double kill. The medal was awarded for Descendant.
Just wanted to take it off him.
I did. I can't have it, no one can. Lucid on scoreboard though. Looking to attack towards jail. Get control of A. A couple of spike grenades go down just to scare off any would-be push over towards the big door. Lucid's forced to step out to get a kill, but unfortunately for him, it's going to be a reset.
Well, how many times do you see a team go towards A and the other team will say, all right, well, whilst they're at A, let's go towards C? Complexity not playing that way. They said, let's actually challenge them at A and send 1 player over towards C so we can just keep Optic on their toes here, keep them guessing. It's a temporary trip cap for Complexity. It's a good amount of score for them. 174 to 113, and it could be yet again another trip cap. Optic are caught in a split spawn at the moment. 2 up, 2 down, 2 up, 2 down, and this is where Complexity can really take advantage as Precision gets another stick.
That was a real knuckleball. Sent the plasma grenade off the ground into the air again and stuck to the kneecap. 4 dead for Optic. Much of everything that's been going well here for Complexity, in many ways thanks to Precision. 22, 8, and 14. He's been the difference maker here. Descendant also putting up some very respectful numbers. 3 dead for Optic. TriPPPeY the last man standing, and he's trying desperately to convert B.
This is where you can leave them at B here and maybe hope for a B spawn, but there is going to be a player at C at the same time, so Complexity don't have that luxury. Instead, they just have to fight at C. So it's not going to be another trip cap, but Huss stays down towards his knees, gives him the wiggles, and Complexity still firmly in control. Sure, Optic get A, but now they're going to get B back in their favor, and they can once more push them over towards that camo side, force them to try and take C, and as soon as they do, they then go into A.
So frustrating to play against. just can't seem to get the numbers on the map. RyaNoob's going to be a pick though for Lucid, who has the camouflage. This could be an opportunity back into the game.
Enemy team scoring.
As Complexity only need 18, but how many times have we seen this slip through the fingers of the players and the teams in the lead?
We've already seen it once today, a 100-point comeback right at the beginning of today. Can we see something similar from Optic Gaming? Can they take a leaf out of Rebellion's books, what they did against Sentinels? Well, they have a trip cat. That's certainly a way to start things. Trade comes out, though, shutting Lucid down, and this is where Complexity just need to not panic. Yes, okay, you are so close to winning, and yes, you are being put in a trip cap, but you just need someone to say, let's breathe, let's work together, let's focus on one, get that back first, and then we begin to move together. A was the focal point, they get it, and now you just start to work towards your next.
Formal sacrifice his life to get the reset on B and the trade. They can ill afford to give up too many more points here. Lucid tries to fight against Descendant, expects the rechal, had to reload, and the fadeaway shot will connect. Precision gets 2 elsewhere. This could be curtains, as A and B now flip back towards Complexity, and they're closing in on victory.
Yeah, that was a big win in the 1v1. Had Lucid stayed alive, this could have been very different, but now they only need 4 points.
Complexity moments away from getting themselves right back into this series, and they will. 2-1 now the score, and we're going to a game 4.
It was one of their better game types, and they prove why, and it transitions from online right to LAN, as this was a far more effective way of playing than they did online. They were able to shut down Optic a lot easier, so they're back into this series, and they can start to think about game 4. As for Optic, again, it's not the end of the world. They are still leading, but it is that kind of seed being planted of, okay, well, what if they do what we did to them back in the qualifiers?
And as that game ended, Dan, you gave me a little look, a little smug smile, as though you knew exactly what way that script was going to go.
Well, it's funny because I have little stars next to which team I think is going to win each map, and it has gone that way so far. But my star goes to Optic Gaming for the next one, so we'll have to see whether they are able to win Oddball Recharge. But for now, you can see the statistics on your screen. Clutch wanted Precision to match Lucid. Well, he matched him, and then he doubled it. 30 kills from him, and if he can keep playing like that, they still have a chance in this series for sure.
Descendant putting up very good numbers as well, it must be said. But the damage as well for Precision, nearly 7,000. And as we look at the highlights, some beautiful shots were on display, as you see from Descendant, but now a lifeline in the series, Dan, going to the oddball. I know you put an asterisk beside Optic Gaming claiming that they're going to be the favorites here, but that score, 250 to 165, we speak about planting the seed of belief. It's well and truly planted. Can they now add some water to it?
They can certainly give it a good effort, but Oddball and Stronghold's very different game types, and it does lean towards the playstyle of Optic Gaming a little bit more. You get your setup, you hold, and you have your structure. There's a reason why they're 6-1 on this game type map and mode throughout the qualifiers, because they know and love how to play Oddball. And not only were they good at Oddball back in the day with APG, but now they have Deadzone, who is, again, one of the best ball players you can have on your team. APG, Deadzone, and Snakebite, 3 of the best Oddball players you will see in the HCS. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Deadzone kind of does with the ball. Where's he going to go? Where does he move with the team? And sometimes the team will move around him. It's not necessarily him listening and saying, okay, where should I be going? He dictates where that ball's going to be going, and the rest of the boys will say, all right, well, now we're playing tower. Let's get to him. Let's make sure he's got the support.
And it's what the best oddball players do in the game is they almost see ahead of time. They know exactly where to rotate the ball, when they're getting pressure applied to them, when is the time to go, when is the time to play the ball. And few do it better than Deadzone, excuse me. Lottie said it's going to keep happening all weekend, and she was right.
And what I love about this team, Optic Gaming, is that they don't rely on Deadzone to do all of it. TriPPPeY picks up a lot of the slack when it comes to Oddball as well. He'll make sure that he's grabbing it. He'll put himself in the danger areas so that he can put some time on the board. They're not afraid to pick up that ball. There's so many times we see teams that are kind of like, well, you know, we've got 2 dead. Maybe we should look for the 3rd. Optic will be like, all right, we've got 2 dead. Let's get that ball, and we'll find the 3rd as we pick it up so we can get some time. But you are right, Complexity, they have momentum on their side now. They've got that map under their belt. They have that belief if they can do it. This is going to be a great game 4. I can't wait for it.
As we load in, Optic Gaming in a very similar situation they were just a game ago, still 1 away from winning the series. It will look a little less dominant than when you look at the stats. People will say, well, 3-1 was a close one. importantly, it was Complexity who took an objective game type.
Keep an eye on the grenades here from Complexity as well. They did fantastic during the qualifiers at shutting Optic down immediately with grenades, but it looks like Optic are trying to play things a little bit different. They're wise to it now and not allowing the same thing to happen. But you can see one nade gets off from Precision, but Optic were able to get a couple of picks of their own.
Another nade falls to the feet of Formal, which made the kill for Precision far easier. Lucid gets a double kill, but will fall down as well. TriPPPeY's got gold in control. Deadzone's going to be the support player over towards Pipes. Descendant down to half shields. And we really see the entrance to the red Pipes area can be a nade fest. Two players now going to make the push into the waiting guns, but the push has been successful so far. Lovely plasma grenade goes down. 3 trade for 3.
How many sticks is that now for Descendant? That's at least 4 we've seen so far this series, right? Really has the precision of it, and that's just a coincidence, but I think there's one thing that Complexity can take away from the previous game. If I was kind of listening to them chat, they're probably saying, well, how did we win against Optic? It was a little bit of the chaos. It was disrupting that structure. How can we replicate that in a game of ball? Well, it's keeping that ball moving. It's keeping Optic on their toes as RyaNoob gets the kill onto TriPPPeY. A big one as well, because it means he keeps the shock rifle.
As you say it, Lucid takes control. RyaNoob relinquishes the shock rifle. Possibly one of the worst players in the lobby you could give it to. Second shot finds a home. Precision was in trouble as well, but for that little D-scope at a very vital time. As Lucid threatened to drag it onto him. Descendant goes down.
Enemy has the ball.
It looks as though the call has come to try and play out A, create some space. Lucid has done that. And now, Optic Gaming hold the gold pipe set up. Huss has gotten a kill over towards Glass, but has to back away. RyaNoob down to no shields. Shock rifle will find a home, but only enough to take away his shields. Killing spree, locked in, and a 29-second to 2 lead.
Great aggression there out of Lucid. A lot of people would sit back with the shock, but he recognized he only had 1 bullet left. Alongside the grapple, so he says, right, I can maybe do a little bit of damage and cause a little bit of chaos here, as now RyaNoob with the camouflage does get spotted out, but it was off the back of a double kill. He'd done enough to allow the team to push up. 3 dead on the side of Optic, so this is going to be Complexity's first chance to maybe get some ball time, and that's a great grab from Descendant there.
Descendant falls.
Well, it was.
They lost 2 members, so no real setup. They threatened for a moment, that's all it was. As they've relinquished ball to Optic Gaming. And how do they now break the setup? Let's have a little listen in with Complexity and see how they manage things.
Enemy has the
Weak
ball.
pipes, Deadzone. You got out, hell. They're gonna be tower, probably.
Not big head.
Yeah, tower to C. Tower to C. Bottom tower gonna kill me. Bottom tower.
Ball
Nice,
drop.
good kill.
Tower, so.
Enemy
Two dead, 2 dead.
Bottom tower ball. One shot, tower.
Jason, nice.
Flipped right, shooting us right through.
Ethan's got him. Easy.
Going for ball, going for ball, going for ball. Top right, top right.
Where are they
Gonna be
spawning?
longer me, gonna be longer.
Already help.
Bottom help.
You got this, right?
Needles, one shot out, needles, one shot out.
I heard that. Watch out, Bella. Shit.
He's dead.
Watch out, Bella.
Nice.
Out.
Good.
I don't know where he's at.
I'm gonna G-set ball out.
You're dead.
Enemy has the ball.
G-set ball back.
Ball drop.
Shock rifle spawn one.
Two dead.
You're left, right.
That is one.
Nice. One shot.
Just get ready to play ball. Get ready to play.
They have a shock. They have a shock.
Camo on 50. Camo on 50.
Do they have a shot, guys?
I don't know. I'll go on mid-bridge. Yeah. Come here, you
Camo on 10.
Yeah, they have shock.
I pulled
Played it late.
Ball incoming.
Use that for us.
Camo 5.
Scar me, I think.
I'm here.
Fight it now.
Shot.
Nice.
Gonna be more pipes.
What do you guys say? One tower slide.
On tower,
Tower,
yeah.
slide.
Tyler, right now. One shot, Tyler. Kill with that.
Nice.
Kill back.
Last guy, Tyler, slide. Go for ball, shoot him.
I'm going for ball with you. Going for ball with you.
Drawing.
Bang.
Shooting now. I'll be one shot.
One tower,
Top tower one, Jason. Kill back,
I'll be pipes.
Get a big pipes.
I think we're good.
Nice, Jason.
Here, pipes.
Bottom A, I'm dead.
Which pipes?
Yeah, 2 turret. And one bottom A, to the bottom tower. Bottom tower on me.
Needles in hell. One shot. Last guy, needles in.
Nice.
Out. He's one shot, needles. One shot, needles. That needles. On the needles. Going out. Yeah, we have
Out of ammo.
Nice, good
Right
kill.
here, right here.
Spawn it,
First guy. Don't die needs.
Good.
One out, 2. Let's search something.
Ball drop.
She's shooting.
Are we getting
Enemy has the
Go,
ball.
hell, in. Pipes.
Top bench, enemy.
Huss needs help on me.
Also,
I'm dead.
Enemy halfway to victory.
Nice try.
Enemy has the ball.
You're low, you're low.
Watch out, main turret, guys.
Top right.
Enemy has the ball.
Gas weak, top right, watch out, guys. Come on me. Watch out.
Enemy has the ball.
Needles out. Turn in pipes. Okay, another one pipes. Yeah. You're dead here now. Camera jump right now.
Enemy has the ball.
Lucid.
Probably batteries. I can't play.
Enemy has the ball.
Go ball. Play pipes maybe. Party pipes. Two. Oh, I got fucked up. Mid-range, one shot. Last guy. I'll kill him.
All dead. Get space.
Enemy has the ball.
You're hearing passion. You're hearing comms. Fast-paced. These players recognize just how close they are to winning the round, as they've now just taken the lead. Remnants of a Let's Go Optic chant are heard around the crowd. Complexity have a 2-second lead. A minute and 25 on the clock. Something I've been so impressed with from these Complexity players is how difficult they are when they're down to no shields, just making sure they milk their life for as long as possible.
They're slippery, aren't they?
They are.
They seem to be oiled up, and Optic just can't grasp them at the moment. I do feel like those chants, they might need to be there for Optic. They kind of need that 5th player at the moment because this has been a bit of a rut. Whilst we were in that listening, Complexity really gained control of the game, and you could hear the screams. Complexity starting to feel themselves, and they were getting confident. They're winning individual fights, and they're only 12 seconds off of winning this round.
Winning fights, and at the moment, winning the round. 10 seconds required. RyaNoob locks in one.
Uh-oh.
2 players spawn over towards pipes. RyaNoob! You filthy animal! Complexity claim round number 1.
And a cheeky grin on the face of RyaNoob because he enjoyed that one. But the job's not done. 1-0 up, they find themselves. Nades now likely to go to Whirlpool here from Complexity to try and shut down the Optic push over towards Camo. But again, Optic are doing a similar thing. They know what Complexity try and do off the start, so they're going for something different. They're trying to avoid those grenades, but they don't quite get hold of the camouflage, and it is again Complexity winning the starting strategy. It was happening in qualifiers, and it's happening here on land.
It was 3 dead for a moment. Lucid desperately tries to live over towards Grapple. RyaNoob down to no shields on Whirlpool. Formal soars forward and locks in that kill. The damage was done. The great start the Complexity had. They've given the ball over. And now Optic have the setup. Formal's got shock rifle sitting bat ledge, and he's ready to do it for Gothel.
And a shoots between all 3 of the players there, just not quite able to get the timing. It does allow Complexity to cross over towards blue, but TriPPPeY and Lucid were there with the ambush, just waiting in control room. And now Optic have got the desired setup. This is where usually they're at their very best. Not only have they got players in the right position, but they've got all the tools they could want. You just need to hit the shots. And there you have it. Formal hits the first. But Complexity do well to respond here. You've got to send 2 players at the shock rifle sometimes, especially when it's Formal who's holding it.
Deadzone holding the ball. Slips away. The ball will fumble down to triple stacks in a little bit of no man's land.
21 kills in the moment for Lucid. On average, throughout the qualifiers, he was around 26 kills every single time they played on Oddball. There's just something about the playstyle of Oddball and how it works that really plays to Lucid's kind of style of the game. It's quick movement around the map. It's being unpredictable. It's using every tool in his arsenal to get kill after kill, whether it be grapple, whether it be repulse, whether it be a shock rifle. Hell, he probably gets kills with a ball every now and then as he tries it, but only gets the initial beatdown as Precision gets the kill.
Lucid started sandwalking. I had to stop myself from saying, listen, Al-Gaib. The use of that grapple, able to change trajectories, camouflage up now. Deadzone continues to put down cover fire. TriPPPeY's going to be able to be on hand for the backstab. Formal's got camo, and he's moving into pipes. He's got a few eviction papers to serve, and Precision and Descendant are the names on the headers.
Well, this is an interesting play. He's just hoping to go unseen, but now he pounces, now he strikes. So he emerges, but only able to get the one. Very dangerous when you play a game like that with camo because you can so easily get spotted out and get punished for it. But it seems to have worked out in Optic's favor. They're able to get 3 dead from Complexity, temporarily I think 4. And Optic have come out swinging in this round. It's almost like that first one really pissed them off, and now they want to show that actually we're not going to allow Complexity to get back in this game. Let's show why we are good at oddball, why we were so good in qualifiers, and it's setting up properly.
The ball.
Deadzone
Dropped.
leading Complexity on a merry dance. Managed to play the ball and stick a little furry mess onto the forehead of a Complexity member. Ball will go back in towards elevator now. Complexity of hands on. Precision over towards TriPPPeY corner is back down towards C steps. Huss is going to try and make the cross. 2 kills go in their favor, and they can build
Enemy has
and
the
they
ball.
can close the gap on that lead.
Important that RyaNoob was shut down there. We saw what he did with the shock rifle towards the end of the first round. Deadzone listening to that call out and making sure he falls. Precision kind of caught on his own at the moment, just needs to get back to full shields, but doesn't even get the chance. Again, communication on point for Optic Gaming to shut down these no-shield players. It's what you said in that previous round that Complexity were escaping on no-shield far too much. I think Optic are now saying we cannot allow these no-shield players to get away because then they bite us in the ass. You've got to take them down.
Camo in 3. RyaNoob down there with eyes on.
Enemy has the ball.
Precision gets Deadzone. Numbers advantage then. Favoring Complexity. RyaNoob's got camouflage popped. He's going to be crying out for help, and he needs it. It comes, but unfortunately for him, he loses his life. Lucid pays the price, but manages to take down the camouflage player. 2 players now positioned over towards long haul. Here comes the boom. Huss gets taken care of. Precision fights from the back foot down to no shield, continues to jiggle peek. RyaNoob falls as well. And Optic Gaming are but moments away from tying up this game.
Deadzone, by the way, still scoring heavily with the ball, but 23 kills alongside it. Naturally, when you're playing the objective, you can get into more fights just because people are going to be pushing you. You take those 1v1s, and Deadzone's been winning them, and it looks like they are going to be very close to taking this round number 2. One last push, though, for Complexity. Deadzone drops the ball to fight with TriPPPeY, and they try and get these kills, but there's been 3 down on both sides here, but Formal wins the last. Will the ball stay on? Yes, it will. A chance still for Optic to win it here.
No need for VAR. Ball stays in play. Formal's got it in his hands. Smoke screen goes down to add and provide even more cover. 1-1 the score.
It brings life back into the crowd and belief back into Optic Gaming that they can get this done in 4. You don't want to go into a Game 5 Slayer. Even if Optic, very good at Slayers, have been good against Slayers against Complexity, you don't want to give them the chance. But these 2 teams, this is what we saw in qualifiers. Very difficult to separate the 2. Game 5s we saw so often. So Optic, they have to get it done here in 4. Camouflage now in TriPPPeY's hands, so this starting strategy has worked out a little bit better for them. Can they get an early lead to work off?
Has that round lost just taken the air out of the Complexity tires? They were moving and grooving not long ago. Descendant pushes the ball towards pipes. He's got teammates around him, providing cover. RyaNoob, particularly from bottom elevator, he's been able to watch the cross. Descendant not feeling too comfortable, and opposite toss the ball out towards batteries. It's going to be a reset of the ball, but they have a 10-second slender advantage.
I think we have to give credit for Complexity here, going toe-to-toe with Optic Gaming. Of course, previous world champions, some of these guys, I mean, if you ask Descendant, Huss, Precision, that one day you're going to be going up against world champions and being able to actually take them down and take them to Game 5s, they would have bit your hand off. But now they're here, they're riding with the big dogs. And there's no reason why they can't win it, but maybe Formal wants to put this one to bed.
How is Formal still alive on Whirlpool? Now they've got ball. And does Formal know?
Enemy has the ball.
As players positioned towards long haul, the information looks as though the answer to that question is yes. Precision will drop on the C steps, and Formal will get him. TriPPPeY's got ball, played it towards bottom middle, and it's now Optic who have that 10-second advantage.
It's Complexity's turn potentially with the shock rifle though, but RyaNoob trying to get in and out with this skull, and will do so, has the ball, and now they can try and get a blue setup on the go. Formal's already fallen, so they do have the player advantage, but a couple of trades in the kill feed with Lucid and Huss falling.
Ball dropped.
It is getting scrappier in this 3rd round. You can understand why, as that one is whipped away, but not quite in time. Or is it? Oh, RyaNoob doesn't get the chance to pop it in. So Camo's going to be down and TriPPPeY's going to have the chance to grab it.
Oh! Camouflage. And a back to boot. Commando in hand. TriPPPeY looking to clear out tower. Baiting and switching with Lucid. They've been a duo for such a long time. They're always on the same page. Doing so much damage. Lucid's going to be able to get those kills. Descendant down to no shields. Will continue to reach out. 3 dead for the green wall. Formal's going to try and milk this ball for as long as possible.
Yeah, good milkage.
Way to victory. Ball.
Will allow Optic Gaming just to maintain a 30-point lead. And TriPPPeY's already in pipes. Good trade, though. You have to shut down TriPPPeY. If he had won that fight, then Complexity may have struggled to wrestle back control over towards the ball side. Again, Lucid just doing Lucid things, manipulating the map in any way he can. 3 minutes still remain, so it's no real rush for Complexity just yet, but it is Optic who have control as all 4 dead on the side of Complexity.
The question now is, how is your composure? Do you start throwing bodies forward needlessly here?
Enemy has the ball.
Descendant's got the opening pick. Make it 2 as Deadzone falls with the ball in hand. Descendant moves towards glass. 3 dead for Optic. And TriPPPeY can only watch as his teammates fell around him and he joins them.
So this is going to be Complexity's first real chance now to get an actual setup because they had 4 down on the side of Optic. Lucid, though, off spawn, does take down RyaNoob. Formal follows up, so they don't get set up in the way they would have liked. Ball is going to have to be tossed out into more open area, and Optic get 3 dead, and Lucid wants to get more.
Lucid gets what he wants, and that's the shock rifle. As he hunted that player down. Precision will make the cross. The ball's back in pipes. Precision gets dispatched.
Enemy team nearing victory.
Lucid has quite a lot of ammunition to play with. As I say that, he falls. TriPPPeY with the plasma pistol. RyaNoob on goal steps will get 1. They tried to play the ball.
Enemy has the ball.
They haven't done so successfully. At least they haven't thrown it too far.
When the weapon updates come in, that plasma pistol probably would have hit, but at the moment, it's still a slow charge time. 45 seconds on the board for Complexity. Still life in it for them, but Optic are agonizingly close here to winning this entire series and putting themselves in the driving seat for this entire pool. I mean, albeit a miracle coming from the open bracket to disrupt things, it would be likely Optic would top it. But we know that nothing is a guarantee here in the HCS, and we have seen crazy things happen from that open bracket.
Complexity sent 2 players chasing Formal, and Optic have got hands on ball. They close in on victory here. They sent too many resources away, and Lucid claims the game. 3-1 the series score to Optic Gaming.
It might not have been a flawless series, but it was still an impressive one from Optic Gaming. And in Deadzone's first tournament in an Optic jersey, he looks pretty comfortable to me. And Optic are looking like a real threat and looking like a real challenge to the big boys at the top.
What a series we had. We thought it could go to game 5. Unfortunately, we fall just 1 shy. When you look at the stats, Dan, there was 1 man on our screens for Optic Gaming. That was Lucid. Descendant try as he might to keep the pace. Lucid was a menace.
And even though, you know, the stats will lean towards Lucid at first, you gotta look at Deadzone. Not only does he get 30 kills, but he also had the majority of the bull time as well. It was, yeah, he's got neg3 with 30 kills. He died 33 times. He's in so many engagements there. He's taken so much damage, but also dealt so much damage at the exact same time. And I just think he fits exactly the position that Optic wanted him to be fitting into, like a glove. And now Optic Gaming find themselves at the top of the pool and looking pretty good going into the rest of the weekend.
Optic Gaming, like you say, sitting atop of Pool D. And barring an open team entering here and causing absolute carnage, they will claim that 4th seed as they push forward. You've got something to tell me, Dan.
It was 10k damage for 3 of the Optic players, by the way. Lucid and Formal and Deadzone all putting up 10,000 damage during that oddball game. It's almost like they wanted it to go to round 3 just so they could make the numbers look better. But I think that on Complexity, the takeaways for them is they were very competitive. Okay, yes, they were the higher seed technically coming into it, but I think they know that they are competing with these guys to try and push themselves into that top 4. And if they can be this close to Optic Gaming in pool play, how are they going to look when we get into Saturday, when we get into Sunday? Could we see Complexity upset one of the bigger teams?
We got another look at Deadzone on this team. And it must be said, Dan, I like what I've seen.
I like what I've seen from Deadzone. I think that we expected this to happen. It's not like it was a risky pickup, right? Deadzone looked amazing when he was on the SSG roster, and it doesn't look like he's out of character whatsoever here playing for Optic Gaming. He hasn't had to change his playstyle too much. He hasn't tried to fit in too many drastic ways for Optic Gaming, and I think he looks like a player that is going to be a real threat when we look at how Optic progress in this tournament. But we're going to have to see what happens when they go up against the likes of FaZe, the likes of SSG, because that will be when the true test, I feel, comes for Optic Gaming.
Confirmation of what we've seen then. CTF Empyrean 3-0, pretty comfortable. Slayer Aquarius, much of the same thing. With Stronghold's Live Fire, where Complexity roared back to life. But Oddball Recharges, how it finished, and it went the way of Optic Gaming. And almost the way you predicted, Dan, it was going to go. A 3-1 run out for Optic Gaming. And Blaze is on the stage with H4F. Take it away.